For those of you on that side, the text on the back is different.
Oh, is it? Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the unveiling of the U.S. Army Aviation Repair Depot historical marker. My name is Joel Reuter, and I head up public affairs for Rolls-Royce. Rolls-Royce is pleased to be a sponsor of this marker because of the Aviation Repair Depot was instrumental in putting Indiana on the map for aviation and obviously the defense industry. To start our program off, please draw your attention to the Indiana National Guard, who will present our colors during the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please. Thank you to the Indiana National Guard for presenting the colors today and attending a very important reflection on Hoosier aviation history. I would also like to take this moment now to recognize a few people for joining us today. Indiana House Representative Carly Macer, who I saw earlier today, there she is. House District 92, which of course includes the town of Speedway. Lydia Spots, Lydia, I saw it, there she is over there. She helped make today possible as being an applicant for the marker and all the work that she's done on today's work. We have Dave Wilson, Director of Development and Partnerships at IMS Foundation and Museum. There he is, back there, Dave, thank you. We have Ann Schneider from Allison Transmission, a company that shares our same heritage with Rolls-Royce and is responsible for the Allison Machine Shop historical marker that was dedicated in 2015, if I'm not correct. So, did I miss anyone? Because I want to give a big thank you to all the area businesses and citizens that came out today to help us celebrate our heritage. All right, so we have a number of very brief comments that will be provided today, and then afterwards we will step out and unveil the marker, if you will. It's about a half a block that way down on Main Street. And to speed up our program, because this is Speedway after all, right? I would ask each speaker to come after the following speaker. And in IMS fashion, Mr. Bowles is asked to return to the office so quickly, so we're going to shift lanes here and ask Mr. Doug Bowles to come, followed by Ms. Casey Pfeiffer, with Program Manager for the Historical Marker Program, then Mr. Mark Rhodes, Rolls-Royce Vice President of Engineering and Technology, and followed by Town of Speedway Counselor, Mr. Gary Rakes. So, Mr. Bowles.
Well, those of you that know me know that I don't care about anything more than I care about the history and tradition of the Speedway and everything that's going on in the town of Speedway. So if somebody said I had to be out early, it was not me. So thank you for putting me up front, and nobody told me I had to hurry back, so I'm going to stay here until they call me because I don't want to miss the unveiling of the marker. So I appreciate Lisa probably for trying to keep me on schedule, and to the extent I can stay off schedule and be part of this, I'm going to. Counselor Jacob, Representative Macer, everybody gathered here. This is a pretty cool moment for us as a community, and we forget that the Indianapolis Motor Speedway played such an interesting role in World War I. We oftentimes remember our American fighter ace, Eddie Rickenbacker, who bought the Speedway, raced at the Speedway, eventually sold it to the Holman George family, and the contributions that he's made for our country. And we sort of gloss over the fact that this was an aviation depot along Main Street and at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway during World War I. But man, how cool would it have been to have been here in that day and age, and to see planes flying in, landing and taking off of the Speedway. Literally planes taken from the depot by horse-drawn carriage to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway where they could take off. You know, we think about how spectacular the cars are today. I can't think of a more spectacular thing, more pride than we even have today when we think about the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, of knowing that the men who were serving this country in World War I and fighting overseas, that it really began here in the heart of Main Street and up the street at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So to be part of this marker, all the markers that IRMA's doing to celebrate racing. When I first heard of IRMA, I thought about how cool is it that we're recognizing race car drivers, but IRMA is so much better than that, and they are really recognizing the heritage and the tradition that is the Hoosier spirit, and it's not defined by anything more than it's defined by this marker that we'll unveil later today. So for the folks from IRMA that are here, thank you for this. On behalf of the Holman George family, everybody at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, we couldn't be more proud to be part of the town of Speedway and to be on the north end of Main Street, and today we can't be more proud to be Hoosiers and remember the great sacrifices that the men and women here in the middle of World War I gave in order for us to be successful 100 years ago this year in World War I, and we look forward to celebrating that even more when it comes to May. So I think with that, I'll turn it over to Casey, and I am going to try and stay as long as I can. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much. Mr. Bowles, thank you for being here today. I know the weather is not as ideal as we'd hoped for, but it's great to still see so many people in attendance, so we appreciate you all coming out today. My name is Casey Pfeiffer. I'm the Historical Marker Program Director at the Indiana Historical Bureau, and our agency oversees the Historical Marker Program. So we're responsible for placing markers across the state of Indiana. We've worked with communities across the state going all the way back to the 1940s on the installation of new markers. Our first one was in commemoration of the state capitol building right here in Indianapolis, and since that time we've installed over 630 of these signs across the state. Approximately 80 of which can be found here in Marion County. We're so thrilled to be able to be here today to commemorate this new state marker. These markers commemorate a wide variety of topics. We have some on women's history, African American history, sports, industry, technology, and it's thrilling to be able to commemorate the aviation heritage that was so prominent here in the Speedway area. Just to give everyone a little bit of context in case people are not familiar with it, the Aviation Repair Depot was bordered by Main Street on the west here, by 14th Street on the north, by Polko Street on the east, and then roughly contemporary 10th and Ford on the south. So just to kind of give you an idea of the sense of where we are right now and the work that was being done right here where we're standing. 3 years ago, I had the privilege and honor of working with Lydia Spots and staff at Allison Transmission on a new marker located right across the street that commemorated James Allison's machine shop and the many contributions and achievements of Allison Transmission over the years. And it was during working on that marker that Lydia had first mentioned the Aviation Repair Depot, and Paul Jablonski, who's here today, had also mentioned it to me, and I'm so thrilled that they followed up with an application for it, especially this year as we celebrate the centennial of the end of World War I. It's most fitting. We're glad to be here today. As Mr. Bull said, so many people equate the Speedway, and rightfully so, with motorsports and racing, but there's so much more history to this area, and again, we're glad to be able to commemorate that with this marker. It was here where Allison Experimental Company manufactured parts for the Liberty engine, where the United States government used the Speedway itself as a landing and flight test field, and where 313 planes, 350 engines, and so many parts and pieces were repaired thanks to those working right here at the Aviation Repair Depot. Now, the majority of the civilian mechanics who started working here had not too much knowledge about aviation and repairing planes before starting, but you can bet that within a short period of time, they became experts in this field. They did everything from minor repairs on wings and engines to completely overhauling planes and building them from the back, from bottom up. And beyond saving the government millions of dollars, it was also these men who helped keep America's pilots in the air. And so much of their work was behind the scenes. They didn't really get much of the credit that they deserve. So again, it's thrilling to be able to commemorate their achievements and the work that was done here with this marker. As always, the marker program is not possible without the help of so many people. It's a collaborative process, and I just want to say thank you to Lydia for spearheading this application. She did such a fantastic job pulling together source material. It's one of the things with the marker program. We require documentation to support points that are on the marker, and she did a fantastic job pulling things together. So we thank her. We thank Paul Jablonski with the Heritage Trust, who reviewed the text as well and helped pull together everything for today's celebration. To Rolls-Royce North America, Rolls-Royce Heritage Trust Allison branch, and the town of Speedway for their support of this project, for help with funding, and for receiving and installing the marker. It looks beautiful, and we're so excited to be able to unveil it here in a little bit. To the representatives who are here today, thank you so much for attending, for your support of the marker program. For those who are interested in learning more, on our website, it's in.gov/history, but if you just search Indiana Historical Bureau, you can find a specific webpage for this marker. It'll have additional source material and information. We'll also be publishing a blog post later this week that provides some more context as well. But there's just so many other ways to get additional information on this, and we hope you follow up. So thank you so much again for being here today and for allowing me to be a part of this special day. Appreciate it.
Unlike Doug and Casey, I've got to write down my thoughts. I can't memorize them, unfortunately. I'm Mark Rhodes, representing Rolls-Royce, and thank you for being a part of this this afternoon. And special thanks to Delara for keeping us under roof since Mother Nature decided not to cooperate today. So thank you, Delara. Rolls-Royce is proud to have sponsored this World War I Aviation Repair Depot historical marker. In fact, when it was brought to us by Paul Jablonski and other members of our Rolls-Royce Heritage Trust, we couldn't have thought of a better way to mark the community investment that signifies the importance of the repair depot and how it played a critical role in Speedway's and Central Indiana's contribution to our rich heritage. Think about that time. When the world went to war in 1914, the Wright brothers had only made the first powered aircraft flight less than a decade beforehand. The war sparked the need for innovation, and wars being fought in the air required new talents, new technology, new equipment, and repair capability to keep those aircraft in service. They came to Speedway and stayed. They stayed and grew an industry that has thrived after the depot closed in 1920. As the marker states, the Speedway area became an innovative aviation hub during World War I. Quoting the newspaper of the Army Depot, the Speedway Dope, which there's an example there, this station is but an integral part of the administration of the mighty program of building planes and keeping them in the air. As Casey said, 313 aircraft and 350 engines were repaired here. I'm told this publication can be researched at the Central Library. It's great reading for historians, and it tells you all the dope about what was happening at the depot. And if you don't have time to research it yourself, you can see our Paul Jablonski, who's probably read many of them from cover to cover. The depot, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and the talent attraction that came here played a role in our company's heritage. I'm of course referring to the business that James Allison, co-founder of the IMS, also built, which later became Allison Gas Turbines and then Rolls-Royce. Our friends at Allison Transmission and several other businesses are here today because of Mr. Allison's great vision. For nearly 23 years, Rolls-Royce has been part of the fabric of central Indiana because of the businesses that Mr. Allison built. We are honored to help celebrate the state's contributions to our defense and aviation history, which is critical to our business today. So thank you again for helping us to celebrate this marker's unveiling. We hope it will continue to remind people how we've come to aid our nation and taken that opportunity to grow a thriving industry in the Hoosier State. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Gary Rakes. I'm town councilor in Speedway, and I represent my fellow councilors. There's 5 of us in total here in Speedway. I'd like to thank those that are in attendance today. Elected officials, as were recognized earlier, Carly Macer, our representative from the House, and Janice McHenry, a city county councilor, represents a portion of Speedway as well. I could go on as I look across those 50 or so people that are here for this dedication today. I know most of you, and you each have your own piece of application and how you're a part of our community, and we thank you for that. I'm a guy that grew up in this town, and I never thought that, frankly, I never knew about this depot until the last few years. The town was incorporated in 1926, so it was after World War I, but yet certainly Speedway was a very strong village by that point in time with the numerous manufacturing companies that lined Main Street. Speedway was created specifically for manufacturing. When Allison planted his first company here, and then several companies after that, and then other partner companies that came along to help manufacture products. They took a break from the auto industry and focused on the war effort, and they did that a couple of times, both in World War I and World War II. And today, Allison Transmission, Rolls-Royce, which is a fantastic company that is part of this, obviously, continues to be heavily involved in supporting our military. And I'm very proud to have them represented. Even if Rolls-Royce is just a few miles down the road outside of Speedway today, they're still a big part of our community and certainly the history of our community. You know, as it was mentioned earlier, we have a historical marker across the street that was first placed there in recognition of James Allison. When we started our redevelopment effort some 18, 19 years ago, and about 10 years ago, really started forging forward on completely tearing up the street and tearing down buildings and working with our partners, both Allison, folks like Rolls-Royce, others that were here at the time, and the new ones that are here today, just like the building we're in. This was the very first building that was built as we recovered from our blight. And we're still recovering from blight in certain parts of our town. But as we did that, I don't think any of us could really envision the potential that we have today in front of us, the potential for dozens of markers like this. Speedway, Indiana is a place of history, not just for racing, which is, you know, world famous and the epicenter of racing worldwide, but the number of companies and the number of technologies that were developed right here in Speedway and that continue to be fostered right here in Speedway. So we're really proud of that. We're proud of our history. And with trying to keep my comments short, I just want to thank everyone again for being here today. We're going to move down the street and unveil the marker. And we would certainly like for everyone to walk down the street with us to do that. It looks like the weather has held off a little bit. So I'll conclude my comments. And again, thank you very much. Joel, I don't know if you wanted to say anything further, but
2 seconds.
they're all yours. Thank you.
So now, yes, we have a break in the action. It is one block down that way, and I would ask all of our speakers, Representative Macer, Lydia Spots, and Paul Jablonski, to also join in the unveiling. So we'll see you right down there. All right?
For those of you on that side, the text on the back is different.